Hi vinyl community, Dwayne Rock and Doc coming at you with another video. This time we're going to look at some recent vinyl finds I picked up on my last trip to Edmonton, which was 2 or 3 weeks ago. I actually should have made this video a little sooner, but just didn't seem to have the time to get it done sooner. Anyways, the last trip I made to Edmonton, I stopped in at Eroc Records, one of the stores that I normally stop into. But because the last 2 previous months I wasn't able to get my appointments on a Friday, which I like to do. Had to get them in the middle of the week, and Eroc is only open on the weekends because it's in a flea market that's only open on the weekends. Although starting last May they've opened an extra day, so now they're open on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I got to stop in there first time in 3 months. And I also stopped at Freecloud Records, another store in Edmonton I frequent. And I got lucky this time around. He was just bringing in some stock from his storage unit to fill up the bunks in his store. So he had a bunch of new stuff out. So I was there just in time to get a little more than I normally get. But anyways, starting off, I'm going to show you a couple of ex-New York Dolls. Got a couple of records from them. First off is Johnny Thunders, his first solo album, which originally came out in 1978. It's called So Alone. You see the little sticker in the corner there. This is the 2003 Rhino reissue. And he's got a bunch of guests on this album. Steve Jones and Paul Cook from the Sex Pistols, Phil Lynott from Thin Lizzy, Steve Marriott from Humble Pie, Peter Parrott from The Only Ones, Paul Cook from Eddie and the Hot Rods, and Chrissie Hynde from the Pretenders. So lots of big known guest artists on that. And I've been meaning to pick this up for a while. I did have the original way back in the day, but I sold it. So I've been meaning to get it back in. And I just could never find an original copy because they're so few and far between and usually quite pricey. But I did finally decide to bite the bullet and get the reissue. And even the reissues are hard to find, and they're quite pricey. I think I paid like close to $40 for this one. And this has one of my favorite Johnny Thunder songs on it, Can't Put Your Arm Around a Memory. And I also got another former New York Doll, Sylvain, or Sylvain as he's called in this album, and the Teardrops. He was the rhythm guitarist from the New York Dolls. This is his album called, it's self-titled, and it's a second solo album released in 1991, and it was, I think, the only one in my collection that I was missing of his solo stuff. Also picked up another gem, the Deviants. This is called Human Garbage. They were a UK underground rock band formed in the 60s by Mike Farron. And this is actually a reunion show recorded live December 1984 at Dingwalls in London, I believe that club's in. And it features some of the original, the original bassist from the Deviants, Duncan Sanderson, along with Larry Wallace, who they were members of Pink Fairies, and Wayne Kramer is also on this album on guitar. So there's lots of great guitar work on this, and the sound actually on this was better than I thought it would be. It actually sounds really good. So that's the Deviants, Human Garbage. Picked up this one just because of this hype sticker that Rich from Freecloud had on it. Says Liverpool beat group, singles from 1963 to 66, and the album's called From the Blue Angel, and apparently that was a club that they sort of had a residency at in Liverpool. And it's a compilation of singles that they released. Actually, the sticker says 63, but it's actually 64 to 66. So, it's got that British invasion sound, kind of Beatles, that kind of thing. Great album, though. Also picked up this one. German hard rock band called the Bastards, Live and Alive. They were formed in 1977, and this is their third album from 1980. And they're similar in style to early Scorpions, UFO with touches of AC/DC. And I think that's their lead guitar player there with the goofy glasses. And the Bastards, the album's called Live and Alive. Pretty good album. And I got this one, Dirty Looks, self-titled. This is a debut 1980 power pop band from New York City, and they were signed to Stiff. And I believe they only released 2 albums on Stiff and then sort of dropped out of sight. But it's a good album, Dirty Looks. Then I picked this one up. I didn't have any idea this was a blind buy. I didn't know who they were, but there was a sticker on it. But I took the sleeve off. But it said 1969 Arkansas psych band. So I decided to give it a chance, see what it sounded like. The band's called 5x5. The album's Next Exit, and they're a psych pop, garage pop kind of band, and they released a handful of singles in the late 60s and this one album in 1969. And this album is all, as far as I can tell, is all covers, except I think there's one original song on it. And they do covers like Soul Man, Shake a Tail Feather, 7 and 7 Is, and Hush, and Fire by Jimi Hendrix. They cover that, and that actually went to, they released that as a single, and it went to number 52 on the Billboard charts. Also from the 60s is American Breed. And I just picked this one up because I remember this song, Bend Me, Shape Me, listening to it back in my youth on the radio. And this is their third album from 1969. And they're kind of a pop soul band from Chicago. And that single, Bend Me, Shape Me, you went to number 5 in the Billboard charts. And it's... I listened to some of this, and it's I'm not sure if I really like it, other than I remember the single Bend Me, Shape Me, because it's got that kind of 60s lots of horns and strings kind of thing that was kind of the thing to do in the 60s, heavily laden with horns and strings. But I don't know, not sure if I'm going to keep this one or not. And here's another one where I remember listening to their hit single when I was a young one on the radio. I could remember listening to that, and it's got this inner gatefold, and the sleeve folds out to picture the band. And this is a later 1973 repress of the album, which added the song Brother Louie, which was their hit. The original copies didn't have that because they released it as a single, and then it climbed the charts, and then they repressed it and added that song, and it's actually Hot Chocolate, the band Hot Chocolate. It's a cover of their song. More 70s stuff. This is Blood Rock. They were a hard rock band from the 70s, from Texas. This is the 1972 album that was released after their original guitarist Lee Pickens and their lead vocalist Jim Rutledge left the band, and they're replaced by a fellow named Warren Ham, who is on vocals, flute, and saxophone. And they went in a way different directions on this album, from the hard rock sound that Blood Rock was known for to a more light, progressive kind of sound, and more in the pop vein. And this is one I'm not sure I'm going to keep. This one I don't listen to it, and I don't really like it because of the changes they made. It's not hard enough, but I'll give it a couple more spins and decide whether or not I'm going to keep it. And still more 70s stuff. This is Dog Soldier, their self-titled soul album that they released in 1975. A short-lived band formed by ex-Keith Hartley band members. Keith Hartley on drums and Miller Anderson on vocals and guitars. And this is kind of a hard rock AOR kind of thing. Pretty good album. I like the artwork. There's a picture of the band in the back there. There's Keith Hartley in the middle there. And more in that kind of vein is this album by a band. Well, they're actually known as Gypsies in the UK, but this is the US pressing of the album. And because there was another band called Gypsy in the US, they added the English, so they became English Gypsy. And this is their self-titled debut album from 1971. And it has touches of hard rock, psych pop, and touches of the sort of West Coast sound of the Buffalo Springfield and Moby Grape, and they also had touches of kind of a Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young sound. Has a gatefold sleeve. And more 70s British rock band called Alice. This is their second album called Why Not, and it's from 1973, and it was formed by vocalist Steve Ellis, who used to be in a band called Love Affair, and I believe he went on after this to play with Widowmaker and the Hollies. And it also had keyboard player Zoot Money, who I've heard of before, and I think I have one of his albums. And didn't know anything about this band. It was another blind buy, but it looked interesting seeing that back cover, especially this picture in the corner with the guy playing the guitar. Figured, oh, that's got to be a good album. And it's a good album. It's not a great album, but it's not terrible. So I'll probably hang on to this one. And I've seen their first album before. Just never picked it up either. And then I got this one, Climax Blues Band, called Tightly Knit. And I don't like the Climax Blues Band. Anyways, I don't like the later version Climax Blues Band. They were really a AOR commercial radio friendly top 40 kind of band. But I'd heard that if you get some of their early stuff, they were more of a in the harder rock blues rock vein. And this is, I believe, maybe their third album. And yes, it's a lot harder and bluesier than their later stuff. So I really like this album. And they actually do a couple of blues classics. I don't know if you can see them there. Come On in My Kitchen and Spoonful. And there's there's a picture of the band there, just sitting on the rooftop. It's more classic rock. I hadn't intended on actually picking this one up. I was looking for Three Dog Night. I was looking for their It Ain't Easy album because it has the track Mama Told Me Not to Come, and I like that song because a friend of mine who now lives in Victoria, he was living in Edmonton for a while, his band, the guy's name's Big Hank, the vocalist for the band that he was in at the time was A Fistful of Blues. They used to do a cover of that song, a great cover of that song. So I've been looking for that album for a while, but I haven't been able to find it. I found one in another store in Edmonton, but it was in pretty rough shape. But when I was in Freecloud, I saw this, and I picked it up simply for the fact let's see if I can get them out of there easy. This album comes with, it looks like a box of cards, or it's supposed to, I guess. Oh, this album's called, by the way, is called, what's it called again? Seven Separate Fools. Oops, holding it sideways. But it actually comes with these, supposed to look like cards. They got these designs on the back. There's 7 of them for each because there's 7 members in the band. I won't show all 7, just these 3. But I actually picked this album up because it's got the cards, and I'm pretty sure you you don't come across this album very often with the cards in them. And this album has their big the big hit off this album is Black and White. And it's a pretty, it's not one of my favorite Three Dog Night albums. It's pretty laid back. I like their earlier stuff better. And then finally I picked up something that I like to do, as you probably well know if you've seen my other videos, a compilation album. And this is one of my favorite kind of comps. It's a bunch of obscure stuff. This was a 2007 Sundays released album from the, I don't know if you can see it there, the Viva label. And they were a short-lived 60s LA label that put out some stuff, some garage, psych, and pop stuff. And there you can see a little bit of a blurb about each band in the back, and the track listings. And once again, this is an album of stuff that most of the bands on here I haven't heard. There is one band on here called The Wailers, and I have a couple of their albums. And it's not the band that played with Bob Marley. They were a kind of a garage psych pop band from the 60s out of Tacoma, Washington. Great band. If you come across any of their albums, pick them up. They're a really good band. And this is a great compilation. So that's it for my recent vinyl finds. I am going back to Edmonton in a couple of weeks, so I'll probably have more vinyl finds when I get back from Edmonton. Anyways, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please subscribe and hit the notification button so you can get notified when I do another video. So till next time, stay safe, stay healthy. See you then.